Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I apologize, I have to speak English, but my Bulgarian is non-existent. This is actually my first trip to Bulgaria. I arrived last night at nearly midnight, and I woke up late this morning, I have to say. So I've seen nothing of Bulgaria apart from the trip from the airport to the Novotel to here. But so far it looks good. So thank you. I am going to talk a bit about digital transformation, business transformation, and particularly growth. So we just heard about digital transformation and lots of definitions. In my mind, digital transformation is about putting your business online and doing everything online. Forget paper, forget manual processes. It's about putting it all online. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and about the company NetSuite or Oracle NetSuite and our approach to this. Because actually NetSuite was the pioneer. We actually invented cloud computing in the business world, and I'll talk a bit about that. But the big focus for all companies, and I'm sure you and your companies, is about growth. Because really, you know, business only exists to try and achieve growth, to get bigger, to get more profitable, to expand into new areas. And to do that, you need innovation. You need to innovate by entering new markets. That might be new vertical markets for your products or services. It might mean going into new geographies, expanding into new regions, expanding overseas. A big innovation we see nowadays is around pricing. So in the old days, people used to make a product, they'd sell a product, someone would pay you for it, that was it. Or they would create a service, they would sell the service, and they would charge maybe by the hour, by the person hour or something like that. Now everybody's looking for different ways of doing that, because the problem with that old-fashioned product pricing is that all that happens is the price goes down. Everybody wants to play you off against other people, they want to negotiate, and so your product quickly becomes a commodity, and so all that happens is the price goes down, the margins get smaller, profits go down. So now we see things like as-a-service pricing. So you've probably heard of software as a service. That's what NetSuite is. NetSuite was one of the first companies ever to create the as-a-service model, where instead of paying one lump sum, one price, and then owning the software, you pay a subscription every month or every year. But in return, what you get is the latest version of the software continuously. You're always on the latest version, so huge benefits. But people are now applying the as-a-service model to other markets that you would never think of. So I buy razors. I know I have a beard, but I buy razors to shave parts of my face. And instead of going to the supermarket and buying my razors now, I actually pay a monthly subscription to a company, and the razors come by post every month, so I don't have to forget to go and buy my razors. They're much cheaper than I buy them when I go and buy Gillette or something in the shops, and I get them as a service. I don't have to think about it. I buy music like that on Spotify, I subscribe, and I get to listen to all the music I want to listen to. I watch films on Netflix, sorry, almost the same, Netflix. And I just pay a small amount every month, and I watch whatever films I want to watch. So we're seeing that as a service model coming everywhere. And in fact, what we're seeing then is people taking products like a shaver and creating them as a service. There's a big company in the UK called Rolls-Royce. You probably know. They make they do make very smart cars, very expensive cars, but they make actually most of the world's aircraft engines. But instead of selling aircraft engines now, what they do is they sell 100,000 hours of flying time. So the aircraft companies don't buy an engine, they just pay for the amount of hours that they use it in the air. And in return, Rolls-Royce own the engines, they maintain the engines. Every time something's going wrong, they come and replace it. How do they do that? Because the engine is constantly talking to them. Because of digitalization, because of the Internet of Things. All of these engines that you see on the airplanes flying over, they're all sending signals back to Rolls-Royce or whoever's maintaining them, whoever owns them, to tell them, actually you need to replace this one fin in 200 hours, or you need to do this, or we need an oil change, or whatever. Constantly changing. A crazy side story, but you know the airplane that disappeared in Malaysia that they've still never found? The only reason they have any idea where it went, because the guy turned off all the systems in the plane, was that the engine was still talking to the engine manufacturer. But that's taking a product, an engine, and selling it as a service. On the other hand, people who sell services, who sell people by the hour, are trying to actually create products. So they're actually taking some of their intellectual property and bundling that and trying to sell it as a product so that it becomes a more repeatable and profitable way of selling. So there's all this change happening in business at the moment. Different ways of doing things, innovating. And of course, new channels. Now we're selling through the internet. You saw Jeff Bezos there talking about how he started Amazon and people sending money in floppy disks. But you know, new channels now, e-commerce, mobile is massive. More business now is being done on mobile than it's been done through laptops and computers today in many countries. Point of sale, of course, is still important. What's important now is trying to understand all of those channels that your consumers, your customers are talking to you through and coming to. Trying to get visibility across all of those channels because it's very fragmented. So huge amounts of innovation in order to achieve growth. But what you need is that visibility. What companies are struggling with today is that typically when you start small, you get maybe an accounting system, you might get a CRM system for your customer data, you might have an operational system for whatever business it is you're manufacturing or service management or whatever, but they don't always talk very well. And even if they talk, you've got a customer record in one system and you've got a customer record in another system. How do you make sure that that customer record is the same, has the same data? That you have a single view of your customer and a single view of your employee and a single view of your product or your service or an order. And this becomes a huge problem as companies grow and they get more and more systems. And what they do is they patch up, they fill the gaps, usually with spreadsheets. The number one business system in the world is spreadsheets, by the way. Microsoft Excel. It's a fantastic system. However, it's very, very dangerous because the data quickly gets out of date. You can't see what's happening. You don't really understand the formulas that are in there, if they're correct or not. And very quickly you lose control and you lose visibility across the organization. And you end up with different versions of the truth. So a classic process, a classic thing that you'll find in companies is that you have a management meeting or you have a team meeting or something and you spend the first 10 minutes arguing about whose data is right. You know, I see that our orders have gone down X and someone says, no, my data tells me this. Or, you know, we're losing this many customers. No, this says something else over here. So different versions of the truth across the system. And if you have that, how can you innovate and how can you grow? So back in 1998, actually 20 years ago, the guy who founded NetSuite was facing this problem. He'd started a company, he'd grown it, and he'd struggled with all of these problems, these silos of data, not being able to see across the company. As the company got bigger, you lose control very quickly. Everybody's working with different data. Nobody's talking to each other. And he thought, why can't I get a system to run the whole company? A big ERP system, like Oracle did, like NetSuite did at that time in the 1990s. But for a small company, for a fast-growing company, for a medium-sized company, not just for a giant Coca-Cola-sized company. So he set out to do that. He set out to build a system, a single system that would run a whole company that you could start with as a startup, you could use as you grow to a medium-sized company, you could still use when you become a multinational. And that would support you in all of these barriers that you have to growth. When you're trying to build a team, when you're trying to create amazing customer service, you're trying to operate efficiently. This system would just sit there and support the company. It would be so smooth that you would hardly notice the system. You could just focus on your business. You wouldn't be arguing over data. You wouldn't be struggling with the system. You wouldn't be manually inputting data from one system into another. It would just all run. And that's what he did. 20 years ago he started to do this, and he was talking to a guy called Larry Ellison, who is the guy that founded Oracle. Very, very clever guy, very rich guy as well. And Larry said to him, 1998, don't write traditional software, build it online, because people aren't going to want to keep loading software from floppy disks or from CDs. So 20 years ago, he built the first cloud-based system. It wasn't even called cloud then. And the other thing that Larry said is build a web shop, because people are going to want to buy stuff online. Again, this is 20 years ago. Most people didn't have the internet. Most people weren't really using it for business anyway. Very visionary. But this is how they built the system. So he built a system, literally not a finance system, not a CRM system, but a system to run a business from one end to the other, everything. One simple system, delivered completely in the cloud, completely online. So when you talk about digital transformation, well, it's built in. The whole system is online. You never need to have paper. You don't need to do manual processes. The whole system is there. So it's the foundation for digital transformation in your business. And including native e-commerce. So it includes the ability to actually sell online, for your customers to come to you through mobile, through the internet, through the web, through phone, through call centers, or even point of sale, all into the same system. And for companies of all sizes, right from startups, right through that growth period, right up to multinationals. And this is the system that we built. And this is still NetSuite today. So it has ERP or financials, all the back office stuff, procurement, HR. It has CRM, so your customer data is all in there. It has PSA, professional services automation if you're a services company, or supply chain management if you're a product company, a manufacturing-based company. It has that e-commerce. It covers the whole business process. And the letters there, BFN, built for NetSuite. If there's any bit of the product that isn't there for a specific industry or a specific sector, we have partners who can build solutions on our cloud platform, on the NetSuite platform, built for NetSuite, that fill in the gaps that we may not have. So that there are versions of NetSuite out there for all sorts of specific industries that have been built with our partners. And it's all built on the Suite Cloud platform, on a single cloud platform, which means that it handles security. It handles the ability for you to define who can see what data, right down to an individual level. So security is absolutely 100% part of this solution, because people have concerns sometimes with cloud. And it's a single data source. So it's absolutely real time. It's always up to date. As soon as something is put in the system, it's reflected across the whole system. And it's multi-everything. It's multi-language, it's multi-currency, it's multi-subsidiary, it's multi-tax. And what you end up having is, whatever your role in the company is, you have a dashboard that suits your role. And you can see real-time data. You have, indicators there depending on the key performance indicators you want to monitor. But everything there, and you can choose what you want to see on there, but everything is in real time. So if you see that maybe, sales look a bit low in our Hungarian operation, you can click down and drill into that Hungarian operation, and you can see what the sales are, and you can click down into a specific product, and you can click down right to the last transaction that was put into the system. And you can do that anywhere in the world, across the whole system. Absolutely in real time. It is, as we say, the world's greatest multi-company, multi-currency system. So it's all there within a single system. You can sit in head office and see everything that's happening across the organization. Or you sit in your subsidiary and you just see what's happening in your local operation, or in your local team, your local department. It's the most widely deployed cloud ERP system in the world, of course. It's actually in about 203 countries and territories. That's about all the countries in the world. There are about 4 countries that we're not in. One of them's North Korea. One of them's Greenland, I think, because there's not a lot of businesses in Greenland. and a couple of others. South Sudan, I think, there's not a lot of activity. But 100 different tax regimes out of the box, 90 different bank payment formats, and more being added all the time. We have about 15,000 companies using it, about 40,000 different subsidiaries and organizations, and all of them are sitting on the same version of the software. And every time we release a new bit of software, with some new functionality, if there's a new security patch, everybody gets it. All 40,000 organizations, all 15,000 companies get it instantly. And that's incredibly powerful. So people sometimes worry that cloud is, they worry about security because I can't see where my data is. Well, I can tell you this is much more secure than anything you have downstairs in your IT department. So you heard maybe a little while ago about the WannaCry virus, the big virus that spread across the world, that impacted companies, and the National Health Service in the UK impacted companies right across the world. That wasn't a new issue. Everybody knew what the security issue was in Windows, whatever it was, 10. The problem was that people hadn't upgraded their systems to fix them. But if you're using a cloud-based system like NetSuite, well, as soon as we know that there's a security problem, we fix it, and when we fix it, everybody has it. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about security because we worry about it. We employ some of the biggest minds and some of the most experienced people in the world constantly just to work on security and improving the security every day. We employ 3 firms of hackers, professional hackers who are constantly just trying to hack our system all the time. And if they ever find a weakness, they tell us and we fix it. And we fix it and you all get, if you're users of NetSuite, you all get the benefit instantly. So it's actually the most secure system in the world. Whereas the system you've got downstairs in your IT department, it's probably good. You've got some guys who understand IT and understand security, but they're never going to be world-class. They're never going to be on top of every issue that's happening around the world because that's not their focus. But for us, it is. My old CEO used to say, we spent $1 billion on security, so you don't have to. So that's the benefit of cloud. Excuse me. We are growing like crazy. This is actually the size we were just over a year ago. So you talk about high growth. We were $1 billion turnover. We had offices in about however many countries that is, 10 countries or something. Then we were bought by Oracle, actually about 18 months ago. Oracle has been pouring money into us to expand us all over the world. And we should, well, there's also, that's just direct offices, and then we have partners. So we have partners like here in Bulgaria and all over Eastern Europe and all over EMEAA, all over the world, selling and supporting NetSuite. Why? Because it's the greatest ERP system in the world. And we want everybody to benefit from it. So that's the story, really. We have thousands of customers. We have companies who got started literally from a startup. We had a little company called GoPro who started with 3 guys in a shed who wanted to change the whole camera business. They created little cameras they could use while they were doing sports. They became GoPro. They're now a multi-billion-dollar company all over the world. They started using NetSuite in their shed. They're now a massive global enterprise. Spotify, I mentioned Spotify. Started with NetSuite, still using NetSuite. So our business is about helping companies to start small, expand, transform their businesses, and become whatever they want to become, at whatever scale they want to become. And that's my story. Thank you very much. If you want to know any more, come and see me.